hit the comments, and it's
Okay,
about to part up now. So if you hit the comments, you'll be able to see everything. So,
sounds good.
and Tommy, we are actually live now. So, good evening, everybody. Jeff coming to you from Pureit Bowling here in Ephrata, PA, and we're here for our weekly segment on Talk About It Tuesday, and we couldn't be more excited to have a special guest on again tonight. We have brought on 20-time titleist and recent Hall of Famer, Tommy Jones. So, Tommy, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Hopefully you guys have been bowling a little more than we have been down here in the South.
Yeah, it's definitely, in Pennsylvania here, there's some bowling going on, but depending on what counties and if you're east versus west side of the state, it's completely different. The restrictions, how everything goes, but you know, we're uh, we're hoping to get this going, across the states here, and hopefully the remainder of them get to open up here. I know, Michigan just recently opened, and California, man, they're back down again, for a couple
Yeah,
months, and it's sad to see the bowling community hurting and the centers going up and down, but we're gonna do what we can, and we really appreciate someone like yourself taking the time out of your schedule to come on here and talk with us, but we didn't think there was any better person maybe to kind of stick behind this ball here and get the talk. And we're here to talk about the Ebonite Aero, which is the newest release coming out from the Ebonite brand. And for all the techie individuals out there, before we start talking to Tommy a little bit here, we always go over the numbers on a ball. So for the tech guys out there, we're going to use this arrow is an arrow core. Okay, so it's if you're looking up in the image it's probably in your upper left or right hand corner there. It's very similar to the design that's on the ball. It's a little what we'll call mass negative on the bottom, little skinnier on top. 2.504, 050, 013 for intermediate diff. So middle to high intermediate diff on this ball. And the numbers for everybody out there is very similar to the Omni, which this ball was created for to kind of complement. Whereas the Omni has kind of an inverted core, if you will, and a different cover stock. The same GSV cover, but this one has the X versus the 2.0. So again, as always, we don't talk too much in the jargon of that because we know we can really change the dynamics of a ball by surface prep and what we like to see with our eyes. So, Tommy, I know you haven't been able to do a ton of bowling, as we kind of discussed with South Carolina, just recently allowing bowling, but I do know that you had at least had a chance to drill this one. So, what were first impressions that came across to you?
it's big. The footprint of the ball is it's big. It's rounded. It's definitely a ball that you can use on a lot of oil, and some of the guys on tour are probably going to use it and throw it pretty hard and on some of the shorter patterns too. So it's going to be very versatile. The thing that stood out to me is the cover felt like it was a little bit softer than some of the other covers, which something I always, the balls that even if they're not, they just feel a little softer to me. And those are balls that I know that I can change the cover on quite a bit. I can take it all the way up 4,000, put some shine on it, or I can take it down to 500 and use it on lots of different lane conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I've gotten the chance to throw this down the lane twice now. I got to throw it over the weekend on two different sport patterns and, distinctly different lengths. And the ball was pretty receptive with a light brushing to it, and uh, when Tommy says about being soft, I mean, it's very receptive even by hand to go up and down with grit on this ball, not feeling like it's, super hard where I got to put it on a spinner and to have any type of chance of getting this thing to change surface. But and on top of that, the patterns I bowled on this weekend with it were vastly different volumes and two distinctly different lane surfaces as well. Um, we had a softer HPL, and then we had an old like DBA Cubica um, surface that was much harder.
Yeah,
And
that
then
surface is
obviously
really hard.
yeah, the old, Tommy, not to age both of us here, but I think we're pretty much around the same age. I'm 42. I think you might have me by a year. But, growing up, we grew up on wood, which I have here in my center, but I also grew up on those old yellow, DBA surfaces that were rock
Yeah.
hard. And, we still have a bunch of that stuff here in Pennsylvania. So unfortunately, between that and still some Guardian around these places, it's some interesting surfaces to bowl on here. But
Yeah, and I mean, when you get stuff like that, you're looking for a ball that has a very versatile cover. You want to be able to do a lot of different things with it, shine it, like we said, or hit it with some surface. But I think that's going to play a big influence in this ball. If people are going to be able to use it on a lot of different things, they're going to, and you might come out to, hopefully you come out to a tour stop sometime down the road and you see people using it on long patterns and short patterns. But I think it'll be a ball that we keep in the bag, or I keep in my truck at all times. Probably a couple of different drilled ones. I have a big pin one that wants to flare, so when you need something to really hook, because like I said, the footprint is pretty big and it's going to be round to keep it flare to keep it going, and then have one drilled pin down to kind of cut some of the flare down, but let the cover still start up and kind of blend off of it.
yeah, definitely with with a pin down on that and having it kind of that mass down when you really lay this core over, definitely would see a much slower motion on the ball, but have that big teeth in that cover stock as well. So that's a good tip to put out there. So the last few weeks here, Tommy, we had a couple guests on. We had Shannon had jumped on with us, Parker last week, and talked to one of your buddies, Brian O'Keefe, and just interested on you as a player. We talked a lot about surface prep of the ball, whether it be the arrow or something else. So you one of those guys that likes to, let's say if the ball comes out of the box at 2000, do you hit it with your own 2000 pad before you even throw it down the lane? And the conversation we had with that was, we can repeat that. So I thought it was a pretty good point. We've talked on a couple of these on, so just interested to see where you stand on that.
No, I mean, I'm a little less technical than most of the people. I pretty much throw it down the lane, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, then I'll change the cover on it.
Okay.
Not, it does. There is some merit to doing that, and I know Brian and Shannon they're very technical about stuff like that. So I'm sure they were ones that wanted to do the hit it with 2000, throw it what it's supposed to be, so they could repeat it and get exactly what they want. But for me, that's not really how I do it. I'll throw it down the lane, and if it comes out, a lot of balls that look really dull, I just go ahead and throw them down the lane anyways, because like the arrow comes out of the box with, I think it's 1000 on this one. But it looks like it's got, some teeth in it, and, get some oil in it, see what happens, and then go from there. But I never have been one to really do that. Now, if it's a shiny ball, if it comes out like super shiny, say the Stinger, I am going to hit the Stinger with 2000 or 4000, because I know it will lane shine back up a little bit. But with my ball speed, I don't hardly ever throw anything really shiny.
Yeah, ball speed. We talk a lot about that, shelf appeal and stuff, especially with the shiny balls. A lot of us, especially for yourself, when you're out there on tour, it's very seldom you're going to use something that has compound or high polish on it. I mean, it's totally
Yeah.
different environment. Some people prefer, in leagues and like to get a little more length out of a ball. That's fine, but whatever's user friendly to the individual is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, I've bowled on tour for 20 years, and can tell you, I can count on two hands how many times I've used a spinner to take a ball up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that's even when they're on fire and we're throwing it over the gutter. You still can't. There's just too much volume, even though the hook is magnified. There's too much volume, so we typically have some teeth underneath it.
Right. So I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, you bowled out in tour for 20 years, and some of the things on there. Everybody's watched Tommy bowl. 20 titles, I believe, two majors, Tommy, U.S.
Yes.
Open, and I think a TOC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
TOC or Rookie of the Year 0102. I'm trying to use my memory here.
Somewhere around there. Let's not
0102.
age me. Let's not age me too much.
I'm 42, brother, so it's so and Player of the Year 0506 or 0607, around that time point. So
Somewhere, I think it was 0506. Yeah.
so you've definitely seen the gambit of changes through the years on tour, with patterns and ball technology and everything along those lines. You've been with Ebonite International for how long before the acquisition? Pretty much your entire career.
I've never thrown another bowling ball other than Ebonite on tour. So I've been with them. I signed with them before my rookie year, and I've been with them the whole time.
That's awesome. So I mean, and you've seen just the changes in the evolution of this game, and how we approach it and layouts, and now banning holes and stuff like that at this point. What are from your standpoint? Um, I guess as the game evolves and becomes maybe more prevalent with the two-handed style and the back and forth between which style is right, which style is wrong. Do you have any stance on where the game is headed? Do you think I know you can't dive into too much and get yourself in trouble with saying, but I mean, do you feel that the game is evolving the way it should, or do you feel like the environment is kind of setting up more to a certain style at this point?
Well, I guess growing up, being like a huge fan of bowling and knowing all the records and everything, I definitely don't typically like where it's going because
Hmm.
obviously I think that there is a distinct advantage if you don't put your thumb in it, regardless if you do it two handed or one handed. If you don't put your thumb in it, there is an advantage with the patterns that we're bowling on these days. Some of it has to do with the way the balls are made, and some has to do with the way the patterns are made. But with that being said, you can't take anything away from the two-handers. I mean, they have tricks too, and they are a lot better than I originally thought they were. Like originally, I thought they could only bowl when they were hard, and I mean when they were easy, and found out how false that is. But
Yeah,
you
the
know,
paddle.
it yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I've done it for 20 years, and to me, there's not even a question that Belmo's the best bowler I'll ever see in my lifetime. And I respect Chris and Pete and Norm and BV and Walter and all those guys, but at the end of the day, I've never seen anything like it. And I was I came on tour when Walter was still in his kind of his heyday. Norm was still, one of those guys was on the show every single week, and they never did what Belmo can do. But I kind of think of it the same way as golf. I mean, look where golf's going. I mean, you got Bryson doing this thing, and he's hitting it farther than everybody else, and then it's easier from there in because he's stronger and everything else. And power is what it is, and you
Mhm.
can blame it on balls, you can blame it on whatever, but at the end of the day, it's all technology. I mean, these people have access to go on and watch a video. I mean, I used to film a video of Mark Rolfe bowling and try to go imitate it at the bowling center by myself, and I just watched it and did it that way. Now you can take your phone, all these things, and you can kind of like slow it down and figure out how they're doing it, figuring out where they're getting, and you can basically, kind of teach yourself if you don't have access to a coach or anything. And it's just it's technology, and that's in my opinion, that's what's doing it, and it's making everything easier, but or not easier, but it's making everything. I guess the scoring paces get higher and the ability to attack the lanes. But these kids that come out too now, they're a lot better than we were when we came out of
Absolutely.
when I first went on tour. I was pretty good when I first went on tour, and now they come out. There's three or four of them every year, and it used to be one every 4 or 5 years. Now it's three or four a year.
Right. And it's a testament. I mean, these kids, whether, whatever their style is, I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, when we're seeing the youth movement right now, and it's not just on the men's side. I mean, on the women's side too, we've seen some incredible players that are coming out of the college ranks right now.
Hmm.
And, it's pretty unique that you're saying, technology driven, because you're absolutely correct. I mean, I remember taping shows on VHS tape and then, going back and watching it so many times it wouldn't work anymore. And like you said, trying to emulate now, you know,
Hmm.
growing up, it was nothing to, go up there and, traditionally, even from a coaching aspect, when I was growing up, I was told, keep your shoulders straight. Don't drop your shoulder. Don't, that's not even today's game anymore.
No,
Today, go ahead, let that shoulder drop. The way I coach now isn't the way that I coached even, 5 years ago.
correct.
And we do, here at the training center that I have here, we do virtual coaching. We have stuff sent to me daily that I'm going through and using programs, like you said, similar to golf, where we're going through spine tilt. And the individual doesn't even have to be here in the building to get better, which is
And they
is
can get
important
better.
because
Exactly right.
you and I are talking right now through a streaming program from two different states while we have an audience of people. We didn't have that, right? It's
Yeah, there was no
completely
there was no
different
way to do any of
game,
that.
right? And it was pick up and call somebody on the phone, probably a rotary if you're in my home, and set something up and see a coach and what you could work on. But again, it's pretty
And most of
pretty
them didn't
amazing
even
what we're
have.
doing.
They just did it with their eye. They didn't have it with. They didn't. We didn't have a cell phone we can pull out and. I mean, I can film somebody in slow mo and basically talk to them and if they're less than 175 average bowler, I can take
Mhm.
one video on my cell phone in slow mo, and in 15 minutes, I can make them 5 pins better just because of knowing what I know from experiences and being able to see it and then being able to show them. I mean, it's gotten very technical with that side of it, and I think
Mhm.
all sports have. I mean, if you every sport. I mean, they're making football safer, but they don't let them do all this because they figure out how hard these guys hit, and these guys have figured out ways to work out their specific muscles to make them bigger, stronger, faster.
Mhm.
And it's every sport, and bowling is no different.
Yeah, it's no different. And it's funny you brought up Bryson because we were just talking about this. I was on the course this morning, and getting around in. I obviously don't hit it quite as far as Bryson, and by not quite as far, it's probably I'm probably 200 yards behind him, and I feel like I just absolutely got all of it. But the guy wins the U.S. Open, and his first comment, to get better, is he's saying, "I want to add 3 inches to my driver, and I want to hit it further." He's already
Correct.
thinking about what the next step is, and that's what evolution is. That's what this game, just like every other game is it's
Yep.
going to evolve. So we can either adapt to what we're doing, or we can get run over. And I know you, Tommy, obviously, you're going to continue to put the work in. I mean, obviously, you had a amazing year last year, and probably not just because you're on here, but the 300 you threw with the Purple Hammer was probably the sickest 10th frame I've ever seen. I mean, that was three of the most pure shots. And maybe you feel the same way. It might be the three best shots of your career. I mean, they were money, especially after a game where you didn't really have anything.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, I'm sure by now most people know. I changed balls in the eighth the game before and
Mm-hmm.
switched to a different purple hammer. And but I didn't use that purple hammer the whole week. And I should have led, which I missed four single pins the last round of the match play, which I do pride myself on being a pretty good spare shooter. That doesn't happen, and I end up not leading by like 15 pins. So it was just kind of one of those fairy tale weeks. But I changed balls in the eighth the game before to a ball that I hadn't used all week, and regardless if it was just because the cover was fresher or that's just how they transition. It transitioned right into a ball that gave me the right motion and for sure the 10th frame was pretty good. The first one was the most nerve wracking, but then after I got the first one, I was pretty confident. I kind of relaxed after the 11th one and went over to my family and kind of gave him a five for the first time, just kind of whatever. Because at that point, you got a free roll for history. Basically, how many people get to say they have a free roll for history?
Yeah. Tommy, it was way better. I rang the front 10 last night and got 6 in the 11th shot, and I didn't have anybody watching me. So I think yours was a little a little better, but yeah, it was pretty amazing to watch. But going back to one thing, we were talking about not using the thumb and stuff, and one question came to mind. I know somebody asked me, hey, this probably about a week or two ago. They said, why does Tommy put his thumb in the ball first? Maybe that's a good one that we could ask. I mean, obviously, it's kind of unique the way you set your thumb first and like to get
Mm-hmm.
your fingers in a different position. But reason for
Yeah,
that?
so growing up, I was basically like I said, I was a student of the game and just loved watching bowling, loved bowling. I would see somebody throw the ball on Sunday, or back then it was Saturday. I'd see somebody bowl on Saturday afternoon, and if they had the blue hammer, and I would go down and go bowl or be at the bowling center. My mom was a league coordinator, so I'd be at the bowling center, and somebody would have drilled a purple or blue hammer or purple hammer, whatever hammer it was, and I would basically try to throw it. Well, 10, 11 years old, you're doing anything you can to try to hang on to that ball. And it's just how I learned. And I'd use my dad's balls for a while. And back then, you didn't have nobody knew how to oval, nobody would do any of that stuff. So you basically drilled a round hole and you put tape where you need to put it.
Yeah,
And that's how I learned. I used people's thumb holes that were bigger than mine and just was always trying to hang on to it. And this was easier than going the other way. And then I created this massive callus at the bottom of my thumb. And I could never, if I put my fingers in first, because I was measured the other way, I bunched it up and I could never get anything on it. If I put my fingers in first, I tried it. Believe it or not, John Gaines actually got me to try it. Drill a ball, put my fingers in first. He's like, "You'll have to do this." It's like fairly early on in my career. You'll have to do this in order to have no hand problems and things like this down the road. And tried it, and my rev rate was equivalent of the best woman bowler at the time, Carolyn Dora Ballard. She hooked it more than I did when I put my fingers in first. So I was
Interesting.
like, this is not for me. Went back the other way, and sure, over time I've lost a little bit of flexibility in my hand, but so I've had to change my oval a little bit. But my oval's 10 degrees, where that's what it was for a
Okay.
long
Wow.
time. Now I'm up, yeah, now I'm up to like 16 degrees, and you know, just it's just the way I learned. And I was always told if it wasn't broke, don't fix it. I've changed my up until 4 years ago. I had changed my span one time since I was 17 years old.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's funny you say that, growing up the same way. I mean, even evolution in the shop side of it, with how we measure and, spans, going from an era where everybody was super stretched and skin patch
Hmm.
was prevalent everywhere. I was one of those individuals that grew up and just thought it was normal to have my thumb ripped to shreds every single time I bowled.
Yeah, if you
And,
bowled 8 games, you were bleeding.
everybody, I'm 9 years old and I have a half reverse of my thumb. I
Yep.
got to be able to get out. It's just how it was. And now, for yourself too, like you said, if it ain't fixed, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But I mean, the other portion of that is that what's right for you may not be right for somebody else. And just like from coaching or getting better, I mean, we just want to be the best version of who we are. Not, it's okay to emulate and look at what other people are doing, but when it comes to fit, all that other stuff, and comfort, only you know what feels good to you. Okay, it
Correct. I
doesn't
mean,
matter how.
if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have pain and you feel like you have tricks that you can do at the bottom, if you feel like you have tools in your toolbox where you can roll it, twirl it, things like that, you can play all angles, and you don't feel like you have anything in your hand that hurts or hinders you from doing any of that, let it be. I mean, most my thumb hole's very tight, but my
Mm-hmm.
inserts are huge. I mean, I drill the hole 63 instead of
Okay.
31 because out there on tour, a lot of balls get drilled with 31. So I always want a fresher bit. So I use the 63. And my grips are probably two sizes bigger than they should be. I don't touch the back of my grip holes. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Some people like them extremely tight in their fingers, and I'm just not that one. If I tried the vacuum grip one time and I about threw it through the roof because I'm not used to that. It wasn't for me. But
Yeah.
there's no right way, wrong way. Whatever gives you the least amount of pain and hinders you the least.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. I know you're saying the word hinder, but we have a question that came through here from Brandon Hinderer. He has an extra ER on there, but he wanted to know, Tommy, he goes, you know, we're talking through here, what are some of your goals in the next 5 years? Obviously, going to continue to bowl on tour, but what do you got?
Well, for me, my goal's always been to get to 25. So, try to get 5 more titles. I would love to be able to complete the Triple Crown. That's always been a goal of mine too. Not many people have done it, but at the same time, it's just to continue to grow basically the brand of Ebonite, and especially help now that we have this acquisition. Everybody's under one umbrella, and help things there to let everybody know that Ebonite still has this long-standing, performance that they've always had, and keep things going in the right direction, and do a lot more for the youth. I mean, I would have loved growing up to be able to do clinics and stuff like that, but it just wasn't popular. You didn't go do a clinic and show up and get Holman and Roth and those guys. And now it's no big deal. You can, you stumble upon the right clinic, and you can have me and Billy and Belmo at the same bowling center doing a clinic with kids. Everybody's kind of giving back to the youth, and it's pretty enjoyable for me to do stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, hit it the nail on the head there. I mean, we didn't have junior gold and things along those lines. And there's so much in the movement right now. The one thing we were talking about, two-handed, one-handed, and all that other stuff. But the individuals who are bowling with two-hand are getting kids interested in different styles. I mean, so with the youth movement, there's a lot of youth two-handed players, and no matter how we choose to grow this sport, the good thing is that those are the kids, those are the players of the future. They're the ones that have to keep the doors open on the bowling centers, the proprietors and the tournaments, and keeping all of us gainfully employed, and being able to produce bowling balls and support these and having a tour. So it's awesome to see the involvement, and I love seeing players like yourself and Parker and even Danny Wiseman runs a big thing for juniors and stuff. kind of giving back and keeping that movement going. It's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, you can get kids involved a lot younger now. I mean, if you get a kid bowling now at even at 6 years old, there's enough divisions and stuff like that. If you're willing to put the time in with them and as a parent and take them and let them bowl and bowl tournaments and get better, and they're going to learn things, they're going to meet friends, they're going to open up chances for scholarships, and then they may even go to college and bowl. And who knows, maybe down the road that maybe they decide they want to go on tour. If not, they're going to have great experiences and they'll probably be a bowler for life.
yeah, that's what half the battle is. So another good question came in for you, Tommy, and you mentioned about always been with Ebonite. So Terry Mize had asked, what was your favorite release and the one ball you really liked that you felt was underrated. So kind of a two-part question he asked there.
They're probably actually the same ball. My favorite ball of all time from Ebonite was the Blue Ice. I really, really like that ball. Not many people like that ball that much because it didn't hook that a lot. I really, really like that ball for one, but also back then I had the highest rev rate on tour, so I could use that ball and be left of everybody. So it was a ball that symmetric, and I could put a little surface on it. I had 3 or 4 of them, and I used that ball a lot. So to be honest, it was probably the same ball. If it wasn't that, it would probably been the Smash Time Pearl. That was another one I really liked a lot.
Okay, good. I mean, what about what are you liking in your bag right now? I mean, that was a good question, but I mean, obviously you haven't had a ton of time to bowl, or had the opportunity because of the whole COVID-19. But have you? I know you've probably drilled a couple of the pieces from. Obviously we get to throw all 7 brands now. So what are
Correct.
you really liking out there? What's catching your eye?
Yeah, I mean, throwing 7 brands is pretty difficult. For 14, or I guess 12 to 14 years, I only use one brand. And then we opened it up to a couple brands, and now we have 7 brands. But, anytime you have more options, that's always a good thing. But it does get a little complicated. But I really like the Proof. I really like the Proof Pearl. I do like the Aero. I think I'm going to use it quite a bit when they're super loaded in the fronts. The Web Tour hybrid was pretty good, and I really like the Prism Warp hybrid. So, of those are the balls that I like, and a ball that I think gets lost in the mix if you're looking for another big ball is the Redemption Solid. It's got some kind of funky colors to it, but going down the lane, you know what it is. But a lot of us really like that ball and typically use that ball quite a bit, even if it's on all the patterns.
Yeah, and that's a good one to bring up. I mean, a Redemption Solid. I mean, when I compare this to, tonight we talked a little bit about the Aero, but side by side, the Redemption Solid for me is actually earlier than an Aero, and need quite a bit of volume. But again, time and a place for that thing. But
Yeah,
definitely,
we could,
definitely a
but
big
we've
fan.
shined it up too. So, for me, the big thing is if I can, a lot of the big balls, some of them don't shine up very well because they're designed to be big balls and footprints.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that I really liked about the Redemption Solid is that I could actually put some shine on it and get it to clear the front, and it still didn't change the motion in the mid and kept going more down lane because it stored more energy.
Yeah, pretty awesome piece. So, I mean, obviously, Tommy, you have the PBA league coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, unfortunately haven't had a ton of time to prepare for it, but what team are you with this year? What's going to be in your bag? Come next week.
Well, still with Dallas. Bill O'Neill and Norm Duke and I have been with Dallas for probably 6 years or so now. So got a good little core there. We added Brad Miller. Well, Brad Miller back from last year. We had him, and then we also added Nick Pate. So we'll see. We're bowling a different bowling center. We're not bowling at Bayside, unfortunately, so we don't get the rowdy fans that which really make the league. It's a lot of fun up there. But we're gonna bowl. We got some. We have some time slots that we're going to be on TV for 4 nights in a row, which is good. And we'll see. I don't know what the surface is we're bowling on. It's a Bolero Center, so I'm going to guess we're probably bowling on HBL, so they'll probably have some friction built into them. So, but it'll probably be something. Probably the Proof Pearl. They'll probably be in the bag. Depending on if we bowl the first match or second match, maybe the Red Blood Jab will be in there. Things like that. It just depends. We don't know what the surface is. It's a new bowling center. None of us very bold there, and we'll just kind of do some talking through practice. But I'm sure Bill and I'll have all those in the bowling center and see what's going on. And then if they really hook and we need to really blend them out, we might get to the Web Tour hybrid.
Nice, very nice. Any other tournaments on the horizon for you that's on the schedule so far, right after PBA League?
Well, right after PBA League, they'll finish the World Series of Bowling, and
Mhm.
I don't know if they're televising those events or not, but they're going to finish the World Series of Bowling, and then the PBA playoffs is after that, the next weekend, and that will be on TV as well. So we'll be in the same centers where we bowl the PBA League. We're kind of going to do our own little PBA bubble there,
Okay.
and we'll get the rest of the season done. But really looking forward to actually getting out and competing, and actually seeing some of the guys. I haven't seen very many of them too much this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's tough. I mean, when you're used to traveling so much and being around individuals. I know even here, for 3 months, I couldn't have the center open, and there was no bowling in the area, and just when we finally got back into it and was able to start working with some clients and slowly easing back into it, it's it makes you realize how much and tight knit this the people are in this sport. Obviously you've been on tour for 20 years. You're around these individuals. These are like family to you out there. Your extended family. So, um, I think it's awesome. I can't wait to be able to see some live bowling again on TV. Definitely looking forward myself to going around and supporting as much as I can. I recently just started competing again myself. I'm definitely going to hit the Wilmington Regional here in 2 weeks. I think a lot of the guys from the PBA League that may have came over may be hitting that one. I don't think it's too far out of the realm. I think Dom for sure is going, and that guy that used to have the mullet is going to compete. Who's Wadka?
Oh,
Yeah, Dave Wadka.
Dave, he's going to be there. Wow,
The
that's
slow
crazy.
wheel will be in Wilmington. So, but Tom, you got to make sure you actually log into this same place on Thursday as well, because Dave is actually coming for a visit up here, and is going to be
Oh boy.
throwing the arrow from my center here on the 7-year-old wood. So it'll be a
I
good
don't
old
know if he's got
fashioned
enough
throw
ball
session.
speed to get it down the lane. He's a little bit older. Is it a senior regional? Is it over under?
No, no, it's an under
Oh,
regional. Wilmington is a youth regional, but he's coming up here to my center, which is a little 8-lane training center on Thursday. He's doing some shop visits and stuff and spending a day here, and he's going to be on the 7-year-old wood here. So he told me to make sure I wax him up real good because I'm not sure he's going to be able to get it through the front.
yeah. He might have to do him with a towel or something to get enough oil in the heads for him. That slow ball
Yeah,
speed.
we'll get the old Century 100 or the bug sprayer from the back here that's still in the back room. But a couple more questions that are coming through here, Tommy. We're at about the 30-minute mark, so we won't go too long here. Favorite bowler bowl with? It's always a good one that comes across. Patrick Abrams asked you favorite bowler to bowl with against, past or present, and why. Maybe I'll answer that. Patrick, his favorite bowler to bowl against is whoever he beats on TV. That would be my
That's
answer, but
yeah. I mean, I guess favorite bowler to bowl with would probably be Chris. He and I bowl the doubles together. We're good friends, Chris Barnes and I. It's very technical. Probably it's a little bit of mix. I like bowling with Billy too. We used to bowl trios at the World Championships. Just three good friends that got along and always did the move. Knew each other's moves and stuff, and just kept each other up and just had a blast bowling together. I miss bowling against PA. Patrick Allen was always a great competitor to bowl against. Always fiery. We were really good friends, but when we stepped on the lanes, like it was no holds barred. You'd have thought we hated each other, but that's
yeah.
just who we are. And then again, if you want to continue to try to be the best, you've got to beat the best. So Belmo's always fun to bowl against, but sometimes not fun to realize the outcome.
Absolutely. Um, sorry, lost my earpiece there a second. Apologize for that. We got time for a few more questions here. We'll have a couple. One, what bowler did you look up to when you're growing up? So another good one that came in. So kind of goes off the last question. What bowler did you look up to, Tommy, when you were younger?
For me, it was always Mark Roth and Marshall Holman. They were kind of the guys that hooked it before, where Roth hooked it, and then to be honest, Holman was just the fiery guy. And people that have kind of watched me bowl on TV know that there's probably once or twice a game that I get a little fired up and get back even kill, and that's just who it is. But it's like a spike, and it just happens, and nothing's planned, it's just what happens. But those are the two guys that I always wanted to kind of look up to and who I idolized. And cool story. Once I found out I was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, I got a text from Mark Roth and said, congrats, welcome to the club. And I thanked him for all the years of letting me have something to watch on TV and give me something to aspire to be. And he thanked me for giving him something to watch after he was done. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome when you come to that realization and you get that kind of feedback. I'd be elated. I mean, Tommy, different worlds. We may be the same age. You have 20 titles. I have 0. I've always wanted to. I always dreamed about that first title, and a bunch of injuries got in my way over the years. But it doesn't change the fact of how much we all love bowling, and yeah, we just kind of give back to the sport in different ways. I mean, it's amazing to continue to be able to watch you compete at the highest level, and even now moving forward here, now you have the extra brands and the extra firepower and the evolution of where the game's going, and still winning titles the way that you want to bowl, and you've been able to adapt, and you've won countless ones, and still have your goals in the future, and we're gonna continue to follow along your path, and we have a bunch of people that are on here now watching you, and they're watching you because they look up to you, right? They look up to what you've done. They followed along. They want to, emulate you now, right? You said you emulated people when you were young. Guarantee there's people out there trying to emulate Tommy Jones. But it's, it's pretty awesome where this game has taken us over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't, still in bowling, so I don't think about it too much. Every now and then I do pinch myself, like, at the league, I get to bowl with Norm Duke. I grew up just watching this guy, and then I went on tour, and I'm watching this guy just pound my face in my first year and a half, 2 years on tour. And, now we sit around and have chit chats, and we go bowl, and I get to bowl on the same team with him. And, I bowl on a team with Norm, bowled on a team with Pete, bowled 4 marker offs on a team. Got to bowl doubles with Chris Barnes, somebody I looked up to. And then, some of the other guys that have come on tour after me, I just catch myself watching them and just watch them bowl, watch how they move, watch how they kind of plot themselves around. And, then, maybe couple weeks later, they come up and go, "Hey, I watched you do this. Why did you do this?" And they ask me questions. And I was fortunate on my end because, I had Jason Couch and actually Wadka too, that would help me along with some of those things. They would come up and say, look, you need to do this. And, probably being a hard-headed 21-year-old that knew everything, I did take the advice. I may not have seemed like I did, but you always had to have someone that was willing to help you. And I had those, and I had the family at Ebonite behind me with, the people that were in the plant all the way down to, a sales rep that I'd, met 2 or 3 times that might have worked on the West Coast. All these people helped me throughout my career. So now if anybody comes up to me and I talk to them, I try to help them and try to pay it forward the same way that it was paid to me.
Yeah, that's incredible. And, it matches, other individuals that you bowl with as well. You say how humbling it is. I pinch myself sometimes because of some of the individuals that I've gotten close with and really look up to. Like, I grew up and love Parker. Parker only lives a state away from me, and I've known Parker a long time. But it's nothing for Parker as much as he's been in the game. He picks up the phone, and I'll get a random call out of the blue just to see what's going on. How you doing, and not just to see if my shop needs something because of the Brunswick backing, but just generally is the guy that's going to call and just see how life is. And those are the things that we put in the memory bank that all of us are just in awe. So when you're talking about giving back, that's something I want to live every day, doing the same thing. I didn't get to where I'm at in this game without any help, and I want to make sure that everybody else in the future, has the same back for me. I mean, we were talking, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, and I have this small little training center here with old 8230 machines, and I'm struggling to work on the machinery and get parts and stuff, and bang, out of the blue, Dougie Kent, is down here for 3 days, climbing in my machines with me, and helping me.
If he can't fix it, nobody can.
He paid it forward because he said, when I heard you needed help, he goes, I remember back when I got in my first bowling center, and I didn't know everything about these. I had a guy that was there and helped. And I mean, the guy, 3 straight days never left the center. He'd sleep for 3, 4 hours on a couch and get up and turn wrenches again. And, it's like I got Doug Kent turning wrenches in my building. This is amazing. But
Yeah,
again,
people don't
shoot yourself
understand
in
how
the,
small bowling is. Like
yeah,
how
it's
they
just,
don't understand how like small the bowling world is. With as many people as bowl, like I've tried to explain it to many people. 95% of my life friends, quote unquote, best friends, have all come from bowling, and it's just the way it is, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And the crazy thing about bowling is I may not see somebody for 2 or 3 years, and then see them at a tournament, and it's like I saw them the other 2 days ago. It just everything rekindles, and we do the same thing. We go have a dinner and sit around, have a drink or so, and just have a great time and talk about the good old times and things like that. It's pretty amazing how the bowling community actually is and how willing everybody is to help out each other.
absolutely. When you talk about stories and having a drink, you just got to watch who you get drinks with and telling stories. Like if you get JP going and get a couple red wines, it's gonna be a
A couple
long
red
day of
ones with
stories.
Johnny.
They are amazing stories. Don't get me wrong. I love hearing them, but I remember going out to some group dinner, back in the Brunswick days, and we were in there and he was telling stories, and man, it's awesome just to hear stuff over the years. But that man can talk. That's it.
You're not far
Yeah.
from Hutchinson too. He's got some good ones too.
Yep,
Old Joe, I
he
love
does.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe was trying to think who had somebody had him on recently. It was on another one of the feeds, and Hutch was on and telling some of his, and I think
He's
he
a
was,
blast.
yeah, he had some really good ones as well. But I'll tell you what, we got time for maybe one more question here, and I'm gonna get yelled at if I don't put this up, Tommy, because my old lady's at home, and if I don't put her on the feed, she's gonna get mad at me. So Carrie asked what advice you would give to those looking to compete at the highest level possible.
So for me, it was always learn from every experience. I learned way more bowling bad than I ever did bowling good,
Hmm.
especially younger. You see all these kids that get mad when they're bowling bad. They're throwing stuff. They kind of give up. They don't change balls, and you tell them, hey, go change balls. Try this. Ah, it doesn't matter now. No, it does matter because you're going to see it again. So keep everything, in relevance. Keep everything calm. Learn from when you're bowling bad because you're going to learn way more when you're bowling bad than when you're bowling good. It's going to be so much easier to repeat what you were doing when you were bowling good. But if you're bowling bad, like real bad, you're going to see it again, especially if you have any idea or if you have any um, thought of competing at the highest level and you want to get out there and do it. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from when you bowled bad. I think one of the best advice that I was ever given is I was bowling bad. It was like one of my first or second years on tour, and I just kept saying it was me. Look, I'm throwing it bad. I'm throwing it bad. And Del Ballard came up to me, he was our ball rep at the time, and said, well, throw it bad with a different ball. And, that kind of stuck with me too, because you need to see a different shape, something different. You can't always be blaming you, but sometimes you have to be accountable for when you throw a bad shot. And I think some of that is, where you are in your maturity level. Some of the younger kids don't want to be very accountable when they threw one bad. But if you're honest to yourself and you learn from when you're bowling bad, you'll be able to get to that highest level that you want to get to a lot quicker.
Awesome feedback on that. Couldn't agree anymore. Tommy, we're at that 43-minute mark, so I know people would love to keep asking questions all night long, but as always, it would be a run on all night, and that's just not going to work. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had dinner yet either, so long days in the shop, and trying to wrap things up here, but we really do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming on here to talk to us, not just about the Aero, but just answering questions and your path, and some good questions that came through about what others can do moving forward. So, you know, um, we can't thank you enough, and hopefully in the future, whether it's another bowling ball, we'll be able to get you on here again and just talk bowling, because that's what we love to do. And again, thank you.
Absolutely, no problem. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we can do it again sometime down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And good luck next week at the league. And I'm sure all of us on here will be watching closely. And hopefully the strikers can bring home another one.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Shannon's going to yell at me for that. I think she wants me to root for the Fury, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, she's probably already forgot about it by now. So,
All right. Thanks, Tommy. Have a good one.
all right, buddy. Thanks.